what's now is up to almost $900 million in a fixed price that was back then about 60% lower than the current price of the token. So essentially means that, our shareholders are exposed to kind of a 400% option wise, right? So this is a very unique option for us.
All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Oren Hershlovitz. He's the CEO of Enlivex. And Oren, it's good to see you. How are you?
Doing very well. Thank you very much, Steve. Nice to be here.
Yeah, good to have you along. Excited to learn more about the company. You kind of operate a bit of dual strategy, and we'll talk about both sides of it. But maybe for those not familiar, give me a little background on the company.
Right. So Enlivex is a public company or trade on Nasdaq on the ticker ENLV. We've been around for quite a while, a few years. Where our legacy is drug development, and we have an exciting platform that we're developing now into late-stage clinical studies in osteoarthritis. On top of that, we've went to a transformative transaction at the end of 2025, where we decided to strategically introduce a digital asset treasury strategy centered and focused on the sector of prediction markets, and specifically on a token that is called RAIN, which is decentralized prediction market protocol. We'll get into that. It's not a trivial story, it's very complicated if you
Mhm.
hear about it the first time, but it makes a lot of sense, and I hope we'll be able to explain that today.
Yeah, let's start with that. Let's talk about rain because I know you've had some recent news about it, and it looks very interesting. It's an interesting way for the company to move forward.
Right. So it's what we call a dual strategy. We wanted to, we're doing clinical development. We continue to promote our clinical development as aggressive as possible. But on the other hand, we wanted to expose our shareholder to an additional shareholder value creation platform. And specifically, as we all know, the sector of prediction market became kind of a validated financial structure that seems that it's here to stay and to grow, and therefore we thought that we can expose our shareholders into into this exponentially growing sector. Specifically, if we'll talk about rain, prediction markets as we know, those are contracts where we trade on future outcomes. I think the people that are listening now are well familiar with Polymarket and Kalshi. Rain specifically is what we call a decentralized protocol. It allows anyone, anywhere, on any language to generate a market, right? Kind of like Netflix versus TikTok. If you think about it, Netflix
Yep.
generating content, centralized content generation, and liquidity generating, and versus TikTok, which is a platform that everybody can use. So those two models are probably will live alongside, and we think Rain will be the number one decentralized prediction market protocol, and therefore we went into that really transformative transaction. The idea is to generate value and yield from that strategy and use some of it as well in order to promote our clinical development.
Yeah. And you, in fact, most recently announced that you've actually gone out and got some tokens and brought them back into the company, right? Like you're obviously
Correct. So as
investing in it as well.
Correct. So the idea was that as part of that transformative transaction I was talking about, it was a private placement that eventually we invested about more than $200 million, acquiring tokens, the RAIN tokens. And as part of that strategy of buy and hold that we just talked about, the exposure to prediction market and RAIN. But on top of that, we received a very, very unique exclusive option to buy additional tokens of up to what's now is up to almost $900 million in a fixed price that was back then about 60% lower than the current price of the token. So essentially means that, our shareholders are exposed to kind of a 400% option wise, right? So this is a very unique option for us, and it allow us to continue and promote that strategy of becoming, we're already the number one corporate holding the RAIN
Mm.
token, and I think as we see the growth of the RAIN, we'll see that translated into the growth of Enlivex.
Okay, so let's talk about the other side of it, and that's the drug development side. And you mentioned that you're working on the drug for osteoarthritis and people in aging, and it's Allocetra. So I know there's some data coming up that you're going to be releasing soon. So it sounds like it's quite far along. Am I accurate in that?
Yeah, that's correct. So we've in 2025 we've completed a 3 months and 6 months follow-up on patients that received our drug compared to placebo. So we ran a phase 2A study. It was a double-blind placebo-controlled study in osteoarthritic patients, knee osteoarthritic patients. And in the age-related population, we saw really exciting responses in terms of pain reduction, improvement in function, and so on. And that was and durability during at least 6 months follow-up. So with that, we now commenced the phase 2B study.
Mm.
We've announced recently about FDA approval to initiate the study and also CTA, what we call authorization in Denmark. So we're about to have the first patient in soon, I guess. And we're expecting data from this study. Again, it's a double-blind, randomized, sizable study. Hopefully, we'll be able to see the similar, that's what we believe, similar results in this aging population above the age of 64, really suffering from osteoarthritis. The most common life-debilitating inflammatory disease, and many patients just don't have good therapies to treat them beside just pain reliefs, right? So there's a huge demand for that. With the data that we saw, which was clinically meaningful, was statistically significant already. We're very optimistic about looking forward the next steps, which will be a phase 3 study. We're expecting to get the top line data from the 2B study around Q1, Q2, so towards the half of 2027,
Yeah.
and potentially moving forward with that into a phase 3 study and getting this therapy to patients.
So what you're saying is the next year is a very busy one for the company.
Definitely. That's what
Yeah.
we're here for, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Oren, thanks very much for giving us an update. It's a really interesting strategy the company has, and we continue to follow the story as it develops over time. So thank you very much. Great to see you.
Same here. Thank you very much, Steve.
All right, there's Oren Hershlovitz. He's the CEO of Enlivex.